So you can see it came out March 23rd, 2006. And then there's the title. I believe that the Harvard version has been downloaded over 350,000 times. Well, the United States supports Israel in a variety of ways. We give them all sorts of military and economic support, roughly $3 billion a year. Israel, despite the fact it is a relatively rich country, receives more foreign aid than any other country in the world. We veto resolutions in the United Nations all the time that are critical of Israel.
Ceux qui sont contre, 14 voix pour, une voix contre. Le projet de résolution n'est pas adopté par suite du vote négatif d'un membre permanent du Conseil.
Those against?
Those against? Ceux qui sont contre.
And the United States is actually talking about using military force against Iran. Now the question is, why is the United States so deeply concerned about Iran acquiring nuclear weapons? The reason it is that big a deal at this point in time is because of pressure from the lobby. The article basically says that inside the United States there is a powerful interest group that is deeply committed to shaping American foreign policy in ways that work to the benefit of Israel. And second, the article argues that the policies that the United States ends up pursuing in the Middle East because of the lobby's force in the decision-making process are not in the American national interest.
Troops out now! Stop the war! Troops out now! Stop the war! Troops out now!
A free, prosperous, and secure Israel is in this nation's national interests.
The scholarship is appalling in this piece. The notion that that some people sitting in Jerusalem are pulling the strings on institutions that are somehow divorced from a sense of what is in the American interest and working instead for Israel, there's just no evidence to support that. I'm really surprised that they didn't seek to protect their reputations by doing really watertight, rigorous research that they could defend. And in fact, they've been demolished. Alan Dershowitz is, I mean, there's nothing left after.
So why did they go on
I don't know why they did this. I don't know.
Some of the things they say in that piece really made me wince because Mearsheimer and Walt both are better academics than that report reflects. But it does shed some light on a number of aspects, the most important of which is that we don't debate this issue in America. You know, you can't talk about this in America. That's the most important thing they did. The second thing they did was call into question post-Cold War, the strategic value of Israel to America.
10 years ago, you couldn't even talk about the Israel lobby. Today, we can, we do. It's explosive, it's controversial, but we do. I wrote an article for the New York Times at the time of the Mearsheimer Walt essay came out, in which an op-ed, and they asked me for this when I said you should have written about the Mearsheimer Walt. They had not said anything, and they agreed, which was already a change, but they insisted that somewhere in the article I identify myself as a Jew, because this would give them protection. Controversial article about the Israel lobby. Yes, but he's Jewish, it's okay. That's where we are.
It's not fun to be called an anti-Semite. It's not fun to be told that your scholarship is shoddy. And it's not fun to be pounded day after day and to see very few people standing up in your defense. But again, we knew that was coming. We knew that was the price of writing the article.
They're right, but they're wrong. Now, they're right from a strictly geopolitical, geostrategic point of view. That is to say, what I spent my life studying. Israel no longer provides the United States a strategic value like it did during the Cold War. Not only that, Israel is a strategic burden on the United States. That's a big difference from Cold War days. At the same time, the fuller, more comprehensive strategist in me says that doesn't matter, because the connections between America and Israel are so great and so strong that geostrategy, political strategy, whatever you want, grand strategy, is of no consequence here. You actually take that psychological component up to the level of grand strategy, and you say, America can't get out of this even if it wanted to. So, Mr. Walt, Mr. Mearsheimer, you may be technically right, but you are pragmatically wrong, because America simply cannot say, Israel, you're on your own. It just wouldn't work. And one of the reasons it wouldn't work is because we have a very powerful Jewish lobby in America.
Occupation is a crime from Iraq to Palestine. Occupation is a crime from Iraq.
There's a new day in America between Christians and Jews. We don't agree on everything, but we agree on this, that we are going to be together, inseparable, in the defense of Israel and the Jewish people. We have millions of people in the infrastructure. We have over 22,000 spiritual leaders, and some of those spiritual leaders have 1 million or 1.5 million names on their mailing list. We have the major radio, television ministries in America supporting what we're doing, because every evangelical believes the Bible, and the Bible has a clear mandate to be supportive of the state of Israel. Again, there's a new Hitler, and he's the president of Iran, and he intends to build nuclear weapons, and his brazen declarations against the Jews in America have been carried on the front pages of America's newspapers. Ladies and gentlemen, we must demonstrate courage. We must demonstrate intellectual honesty. We must demonstrate the willingness to stand up and to speak out. We must act now to stop Iran before the maniacal dream of exterminating decimating the Jewish people becomes a nuclear holocaust. And I am hopeful that the American government will have the courage to help Israel in its day of adversity against tyrants. I don't think there's ever a time that you can say you have enough support. I think that our objective is to always let our elected officials know that, A, we do support Israel, and that if anyone comes against Israel in a malicious way, we would do everything in our power to see that that was their last term in office.
For those guys that were on the campaign with me during the 2002 election. And I want to get a copy of your tape of those commercials that had run. Give me a call. I'm in office 326-8844. Thank you. What AIPAC did, some members of the United States Congress, rather, they put in resolutions condemning Libya. And they just kept them in the resolutions with Syria and with Iran and with Iraq. They kept putting them in that in resolution and kept pushing for all kinds of sanctions, all kinds of action against them. And of course, I voted against the resolution, and others started voting against it. And I think what later I found out what really made them angry, other members of Congress came to me and wanted to know what was happening, and I was telling them, we're trying to negotiate.
So what happened?
I was looking at CNN. Several people had called me and told me what they had seen and heard, and they told me, look at CNN. And they flooded the radio and TV with commercials. Those commercials, and you have to understand the mode that the country was in. We had just gone through 9/11, and most Americans didn't know Hussein from Gaddafi or Gaddafi from bin Laden. They didn't know the difference. They all saw them as the same. And the commercial, many commercials, put me with them, saying I supported them.
Support and finance international terror network.
It had image of the airplanes flying into the World Trade Center. I tell you, I was dropping rapidly in the polls. We had continued polling. I was dropping rapidly in the polling. I tell you, it was, you have to admit it was well planned and they executed it. The afterthought, it said, my goodness, they had it together. I lost the election. But you have to understand, you're talking about a forbidden subject. No one wants to talk about Jews. It's a no-no. It's like you're talking about something that's wrong. You're not even supposed to give your opinion.
So you think it's very difficult for me to even ask questions about the Israel lobby in Washington?
Absolutely. Very difficult to get answers. Very difficult to get interviews. I hope you're successful. I wish you well. It's going to be rough.
There is an enormous, very, very powerful machine